Or are you in love with me? Are you that big a creep that you love me of all things? You want to give me your blood and think it's going to like create a bond between us or something? Or people are just buying too much to the character. That might be it too, but that was just creepy. I mean, I get it if you want to get the guy tattooed on your body, if you want to do like artwork, if you want to dedicate YouTube videos with like mashups of your favorite fucking rock song of Taker and his match and footage. Okay, that's fandom. You want to do that? That's fantastic. But you got to draw the line, I think, at tattoos. Because anything beyond that, because you got to draw blood, because the needle hits your skin and makes it bleed when you get it tatted up. You're literally drawing blood for the Undertaker at that point. You don't need to take blood out of your body and send it to somebody you're a fan of and be like, this is me committing to you with my blood. Love me, kind of thing. No, stop that behavior. It is so sick. He's been the one that's been able to live his character for the longest time. He said it himself too in this episode, which they go really in depth with the man, Mark Calaway, and the character, of course, the Undertaker, where he was so comfortable as the Undertaker that he basically said at one point, fuck Mark Calaway, who cares about that jabroni? I'm going to be the Undertaker in the ring, on the TV screen, every time, all the time. And if people see me out and about the airport or, at a signing, wherever outside the ring, when there's no cameras on me, I'm just going to be the toned down, friendlier, not so dead inside Undertaker, but a little bit more lively, but no Mark Calaway. There's no such thing as Mark Calaway. He's literally dead. I buried him. The Undertaker's the one that took over my whole body in essence, pretty much. That is interesting. We'll look at that a little more in depth right now. But right now, we'll jump into the whole episode in itself. If you haven't caught, by the way, the first season of A&E Biography, WWE Legends, there's a whole slew of them. I can't remember offhand. Let me see if I do. Okay, so there was, I'm going to use my fingers, so we're going to finger you right now. Pardon me. There was Bret Hart. There was Booker T. There was Shawn Michaels. There was Ultimate Warrior. There was, I'm drawing blanks now. Yeah, I can't remember. I'm not going to embarrass myself like this any further with my poor-ass memory. But 8 episodes in the first season. I highly recommend it. Also, if you're, against the streaming services, you feel like you pay too much as is for streaming services, I get you. I understand you. But there is a thing that A&E is doing that's unheard of as far as all the streaming services are concerned, where you can go onto their website, ane.com, I believe. You just search up this shit, Biography WWE Legends. You can watch the whole first season. All 8 episodes. And also, before you fucking say, oh, I gotta create an account. I gotta see which email I can use. What credit card they want me to link to that account I create. Nope, none of that. Swear to God, I did this last night just to make sure. I watched an episode again just to be sure. No fucking gimmicks. No signing up, nothing. You go to the site, you search up A&E Biography, WWE Legends, or just WWE, whatever. You get all the episodes right there on your browser, on your phone, free to watch. You don't gotta put in any, not even your fucking name, not even a username, nothing. You get to watch all of them as is. Highly recommend. Oh yeah, the other 4 were, he just came to my mind right now. Fuck, Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper was a really good one. Rest in peace, Roddy Piper, of course, but, it's always fascinating to learn more about him, but we're not talking about Roddy. Rest in peace again, of course. But really good first season, strong first season. I wasn't so crazy about the lineup of the second season. I was glad they started off with the heavy hitter as far as Taker's first. First off, first out the gate. We just had him retire this year earlier, 2022 finally, so rest in peace to the character, The Undertaker. So, Season 2, Episode 1, great way to start off with The Undertaker. There's a bunch of fucking, a shitload of facts, trivia, that I never knew, had no idea about Undertaker, and also it was mixed in with a slew of Mark Calaway / The Undertaker's take on a bunch of things, no pun intended. How he felt about different situations, what it was like for him coming up in the business, even though he literally stood out as like being, damn near 7 feet tall, 300 something pounds, in great shape. It was still a hard time for him to get even, let alone looked at, let alone in the ring where somebody would trust him to be anything at any point. As he was told at one point, he wasn't going to draw money ever in his fucking whole life or career. But again, imagine, redhead, 7 feet tall almost, 300 plus pounds, athletic, limber, agile as fuck for as big as a guy as he is, still able to do his thing, but no one wanted to do anything with him. No one felt that he had like the liveliness or the character in him to actually do anything that will make money. That's what it's all about. That's what it comes down to. I get it. But crazy enough, we'll get into that. So first things first, I had no idea he was one of 5 boys growing up in Texas. That's a fun fact. I didn't know that at all. This is also being shared with you, all these little facts, these tidbits, as incentive for you to go watch the episode, of course. All right. So, young Undertaker was so into basketball, and he would play every day with his friends in his little Texas town growing up. They had a local Pizza Hut in town, where his metabolism at such a young age, growing into a tall, slender, almost lanky-looking young man, his metabolism was so crazy that his local town Pizza Hut banned him at some point because they were going every single day after playing basketball and sweating up a storm that he'd clean them dry out of all the food possible. Now, with Pizza Hut, that's crazy because I know with a buffet, I miss buffets. I used to have a buffet when I lived down in Queens Village, like literally around the corner from me. And I would go there at least once a week. They knew me by name. And I was good, wink wink, with the cute ones at least. It was a Chinese buffet on top of that, so it was the best of both worlds. I did have an ex at that time, so I couldn't really flirt, even if I wanted to, which I didn't. I'm not trying to be an asshole, scumbag, a cheat. But when I did flirt, it would always be with them, the Chinese girls at the buffet, because most of them were still young, so I don't know what's going on there. Maybe they were like, and we're not going to allude to that, but they were young and pretty. They liked me, I liked them, but no speaking English. So best thing, just give them a smile. They give a smile back. They're all giddy and shit. They serve you extra, whatever. They'd be some, I forget it, not the sushi. It'd be like some of the hot platters they'd have to serve you, and they'd always make sure to give me extra or like point to like what part of the food I wanted. So that was always a perk. But yeah, I would think with a buffet like that, those you run out of business quickly. With a Pizza Hut, I don't know how you do that unless literally you're eating like the personal pan pizzas they give you at Pizza Hut, non-stop one after the other. But I would think, even as a grown boy, thin, super fast metabolism, healthy, hungry after playing a long day of fucking basketball, how many can you possibly wolf down? But then again, you got to consider, at his age, he was already probably like, I think he said 6'6", 6-something feet plus as a teenager. So you got to think, literally, because he is that taller and that bigger, even if he's young, and we like to exaggerate, oh, I could eat a horse or something like that. He probably could have ate a horse, at least a small horse, a shitling pony, something like that, considering how big he was at such a young age. And if he's physically active on a regular basis or on a daily basis, with physically exerting himself, throwing a ball into a hoop for hours and hours, and sweating and losing the calories and building muscle and all that too, just imagine the fucking calories he's got to wolf back down to keep himself alive from turning into skin and bones like a skeleton, like the Undertaker will be into like that. So maybe that was prelude to that. So I don't die, so I don't end up a dead man. Let me eat, and run this fucking little Pizza Hut out of business practically to the point where they say, you're not allowed in here no more, fuckface. We need to stay alive. We need to stay afoot. And this is before recessions hit. What was it? The one in the 80s, and then the one in the early 2000s, and the one we're probably currently in right now, which the government still won't admit to. But imagine that shit. Eating your fucking local Pizza Hut out of business, literally. Alright, so from there, when he finally got the bug to get into wrestling, he got hustled out of $2,500 for wrestling training by, I forget the name of the guy. I could have sworn I wrote it down. I forgot to. But there was a guy local in town who had been, with some companies. He said basically $2,500, come in, I'm going to stretch you out, I'm going to torture you, I'm going to come close to the point of breaking your limbs and shit to really make you regret ever wanting to get into wrestling like that. But you're going to have to pay me up front. I need all that up front. He does pay that. He went to a couple of things he said, and then the guy just disappeared, left town. So he was short $2,500. He got so good at basketball because they said, hey, Mark, you're tall. You could probably have a better chance of putting the ball in the basket than we other short fucks would. Why don't you come play basketball? He's already good enough at basketball. He gets so good that he's actually considering at a young age planning out his career. I admire that. Like, he had plans, he had goals, literally besides the basketball, hoop net, whatever, of actually going to play overseas basketball. Now, I know that's like the go-to for like a lot of guys that play basketball and can't cut it in the big leagues or the NBA, better yet said. I know that's their go-to in case they're like no name, but not that known to get like signed to a team for more than a year. So they do that thing. So I guess that was probably a thing since back when too, because if overseas basketball was always an option, I guess I'm assuming it's done enough where if you can't cut it here or you can't commit to a team here for more than a season, or they cut you every year, like I know a lot of guys just have in the past, why not go overseas, to the Asian league, the European league, whatever, do your thing over there, maybe build up some rep and come back to the States with some clout, at least enough where a team will sign you to 2-3 seasons, maybe in a decent contract. So that's odd. I never knew that about him. I knew he played basketball when he was younger, but I never knew he was actually considering going overseas to play basketball for a career. So instead of going overseas with basketball, he decides, you know what, I'm going to wrestle for a living professionally. I'm big enough. Why not give it a goddamn try? Mom, as he drops the bomb on her that way, she says basically to him, okay, you're dead to me. You're on your own. Tough shit, tough tits, whatever you believe in firmly. Go on, make the rounds as a wrestler, but count us out as far as funds and family's concerned. So imagine that. You tell your fucking family what you want to be for the rest of your life, ideally, career-wise. And they told you, kick rocks, skip town, fuck you, go jump in the lake, basically. Out on the streets or out in the backseat of his car is how he managed to survive very early on in his wrestling career, from what we get from this documentary. He got his first start as the masked wrestler known as Texas Red, because Fritz von Erich said he looked like one of his kids named David, close enough to him. So it was a matter of dumb luck. He just happened to be there, right place, right time, with the right guy who thought he was the wrong kid. He probably had so many kids, he couldn't remember what one exactly looks like, so said, you must be one of my kids, get your fucking big redheaded 7-foot ass over here, boy, and get in this ring already. He got good enough, at least as green as he was, where Steve Simpson invited him to come down to South Africa to work heel, or aka the bad guy, which I guess did well enough for him. But he came back, even after going and spending time in South Africa, being, big, literally standing out, redhead, 7 feet tall, almost 300 pounds and shit too. Couldn't get booked, couldn't get worked. No one wanted to commit to him, no one wanted to have him on board as part of their roster, surprisingly enough. Which is shocking to me still, because again, I still can't get over the fact that someone as big, as built, as well put together as the Undertaker was, a young Undertaker was, for wrestling back when. I mean, it's always been a thing about having big-ass guys wrestle from way back when, from the 80s and 70s and all that shit too. It's always the land of the big men. But then literally you got one of the biggest guys there, towering over at least by 6 inches the other guys who are supposed to be big and imposing and shit, but he can't get signed at all. Maybe because he looks slender, lanky, whatever. That might have factored in, who knows. But it wasn't until Jerry the King Lawler, shouts to him, booked him and made him the aka Master of Pain, straight from the Atlanta State Penitentiary, down in Memphis, whatever his thing's called down in Memphis, I forgot, to be honest. He had that going on at least. Then, Jim Cornette, everybody's favorite wrestling reviewer, introspective mind and shit too. I like Cornette. I think he's hilarious. He can go offhand a lot of times. He's out of touch with a lot of shit, but I'm guilty. I go back and listen to his shit a lot too, just because he's that funny. But whatever. Jim Cornette saw The Undertaker, or Mark Calaway back when, or at that current time, Master of Pain, and said, you know what, goddammit, you come over to WCW, you're going to be one half of the Skyscrapers with Dan Spivey, and it seems like he was made for the big time already, because he got good enough, he could work in the ring, he could do his thing in the ring, as a big man and play as one or two very big men, where, he was literally one half of the skyscrapers in WCW. At a time when WCW really sucked. When it was like too, I don't know if it was like kid friendly on purpose or just like too, I don't know, the company thought the audience was stupid, or that heavily composed of rednecks that were just buying anything as long as it's two big sweaty men throwing each other around for like half an hour every Saturday, something like that. But it was really something that was up Dan Spivey's ass, where he just felt that way the whole time. He said, this company fucking sucks. I'm going to sabotage this shit to the point where, just to spite the company, because he couldn't get shit booked for himself, or he felt like he wasn't being taken seriously, whatever. There was a match they had, him and Mark Calaway, or one half of the Skyscrapers. They took on the Road Warriors, rest in peace, Animal and Hawk, and legit beat the shit out of them. There wasn't much Animal and Hawk could do. As big and fucking muscly those guys were, there really wasn't going to be much they could do against two guys that were near 7 feet tall, both of them. So Spivey took it upon himself to really beat the shit out of both of them. I forgot which one he was beating up more, but still, both of them got beat up. Undertaker was just following his path and said, because he told him, do what I do, follow me the whole time. Says, all right, fuck him up, let's fuck him up. Bum, 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 bum. Does that shit. And, well, he did it because apparently, Dan Spivey at least, he did it because he was going to go over to Japan anyway. So he was like, sayonara suckers, basically, suck my cock on the way out. He did that shit, even though Taker partook in, like, beating up the Road Warriors. Fucking destroying them, basically. He was still happy enough to be signed to WCW that he wanted to stay with them the whole time. He was, ready to commit and ready to be, like a team player, basically, which he's always been with, like, WWE, WWF. The whole time he's been with Vince, he's always been a team player. He's even said himself plenty of times, there's no chance in hell, no chance. That's what you got, no chance in hell at all. He'd ever leave the company, jump ship, since Vince proved his loyalty. But we'll get to Vince in a little bit too, because oddly enough, Vince wasn't so crazy about Undertaker at first too. Or didn't see the vision, Betty had said. So, Taker was happy with WCW. He wasn't ready to leave. He wanted to renegotiate a contract to ideally get some more money because he felt he had gotten better. He felt, because I'm a team player, because I'm here to help the whole company win, why not have me on board? Why not keep me happy, financially at least secure? But they offered him a new contract with the same exact amount of money they signed him for anyways. And there was no backpedaling, no negotiating, basically. It wasn't until Ole Anderson really, like, set the spark inside him that said, you know what? I'm going to take it further. I'm going to do better than what I'm doing right now. I can't stay content with what I'm doing, because if not, I'm just going to die here. I'm going to die mediocre. It wasn't until Ole Anderson told him, and I quote, Mark, you're a great athlete, but no one's ever going to pay to see you wrestle. So shockingly enough, as a big, young, agile, strong, willing to learn, team player, happy as can be, of a wrestler that they hired with a young Undertaker, mean Mark Calaway back then in WCW. They didn't believe in him at all. They said he'd never make money. So they basically told him, either take the contract we're giving you and keep the money you're keeping, or you can get the fuck out. So surprisingly enough, it's, of all people, surprisingly enough, someone who's been looking out for a lot of people, even though, let's be clear too, Paul Heyman. Shout out to Paul Heyman. I love him. I respect him. I love it every time he's on the TV doing his thing now with Roman, as boring as he's gotten with the acknowledge me shtick. Or when he was with Brock Lesnar as the mouthpiece for Brock when he didn't talk and had no personality allegedly back when. I just love Paul Heyman. But there is the fact that we cannot glance over, allegedly, supposedly the fact, that he was a really... I wanted to say something right now that I could have said like 10 years ago, but I can't now because, whatever. He was really Mr. Krabs with it when it came with his money, as far as ECW was concerned. Having guys go out there, main event matches, and do different things, all this shit while saying, I owe you, bro. I got you when I get mine. You know, that's how it works. You know, I'm kind of tight on strapped for cash right now. There is that, but all in all, it seems like Paul's basically been the lookout guy for a lot of guys early on, now currently, really in it for the good of the business. So, of all people, it's Paul Heyman that says, you know what, me and Mark Calaway, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to look out for you, because he was managing him too when he went like solo in WCW. He's the one that actually set up the meeting with Vince McMahon after he reached out. Paul Heyman himself reached out to Bruce Pritchard and said, you know what, I got a guy, you got to look at him. Bruce Pritchard, right on board immediately, said, yes, we love it. He's humongous, he's great. Vince should love him. Until Vince sees his fucking tape. And of all things, Vince McMahon back when, in like, let's say roughly 1989, 90, whatever, basically said, oh wow, a giant red-headed basketball player. I'm not signing him for shit. And passes. But somehow, some way, Paul's able to fucking talk his way into finally getting a meeting with Vince and Bruce Pritchard, to the point where they got a meeting in New York, I think they said. Undertaker got in the suit, surprisingly enough, that was big enough to fit his large ass. It was a funny little tidbit as far as they were getting into Paul Heyman's convertible, I think they said it was, like a really small compact car or whatever. And since Taker was so big and the suit was so cheap and tight, like you just bust his pants open, showing his whole ass. And he said he had to make sure to like cover his own ass the whole time, making sure Vince and Bruce would never see the backside of him when he met with them in the office or whatever they fucking met. But basically, it wasn't until Vince saw him in person that was like, you know what, pal, I see the potential, I see the vision, I got an idea. All right, fucker, we're gonna bring you in. Funny enough, at Survivor Series when Taker debuted, that was the same year they also debuted the gobbledygooker, whatever you call it. But they were hinting at it with the humongous egg that was always on set. Camera panning to it. Who's gonna debut? Who's gonna bust out the fucking egg? And at first, before they officially signed him and said you're gonna be the Undertaker, he thought he was going to be the guy busting out the egg the whole time. It was like, oh God, they're going to make me like a goddamn humongous humanoid chicken or something like that. Or Survivor Series, maybe a turkey, whatever. But no, it wasn't until Vince gave him the call and said, hello, is the Undertaker there? As the story goes. And then he, talked out and planned out, fleshed out the detail of the Undertaker character for him. And then we got the Undertaker debuting at Survivor Series. The infamous eye roll and her eyes going into the back of his head, like he always loves doing, for a pin or like for shock factor, whatever. He just got that because Greg Valentine randomly pointed out to him, hey, why do you roll your eyes in the back of your head like that shit? And do the tongue thing. You do almost every match. And then Taker just admits, you know what, I took that from fucking Kiss, from Gene Simmons. His big ass tongue was a heavy influence on me, growing up, being a Kiss fan, so you know what, I just do it as a tribute to Gene Simmons of all people. As old as he is, he's still sticking his tongue out, doing that whole gimmick for us, like, we're gonna buy into it, or that's really the incentive I need to buy a fucking Kiss coffin. I'm sure they're still selling that Kiss coffin. That was, I'm not gonna say tacky like it was bad, it was just like, but come on, who's really that big a Kiss fan to even consider, $5,000, $6,000 for a Kiss coffin? That doesn't seem like too bad a deal. But it wasn't until they paired him up with Paul Bearer, or, oh God, what was his name in real life? Rest in peace. Percy? I forget. Honestly, I forget right now his name in real life, IRL, but forgive me for that. But it wasn't until they paired him with Paul Bearer, of course, so we got The Undertaker, The Power of the Urn, Paul Bearer, oh yes, and all that too. But also, this is when we find out, or at least the first time I'm hearing it, The Undertaker's mom had him come to work with her when he was young, of all places at a funeral home. So he was already used to and comfortable around the caskets and coffins and, dead people and urns at a young age. So I guess this was really right up his alley, just kind of life hinting at him from early on. This is going to be a big part of your whole fucking life, basically, as an adult. So that was odd enough to notice. Another fun fact was The Undertaker's mom, who, funny enough, the whole time the documentary, And I believe she wasn't playing a character. I think she's too old to even want to commit to a character, try to pretend or do like, oh, a gimmick. Taker's whispering to her, hey, Mom, just really sell like you fucking hated what I did the whole time. No, I think she legit hated him for having a career he chose to go with the whole time. So Mom is still being petty, and surprisingly, the Undertaker ain't even Spanish to have a petty-ass mom like that. But the Undertaker's mom was so petty, it still seems like that even after he retired and he said, now I'm done, I'm not going back to the ring just recently this year, now she's finally happy and can gloat about his career, retrospective, all that too. But at that point, when he was still active, she wasn't happy about it at all. And I guess that pettiness translated into one time, again, fun fact, is that one time he was facing Psycho Sid. They happened to be in Texas, so it wasn't a long drive for them to make it there. They go. She's getting so worked up by Psycho Sid, or Sid Vicious back then, shout out to Sid, by him antagonizing her ringside, being like, this your boy? I'm beating your boy, whatever. She got so mad and worked up that she tried to jump over the barricade into the ring. Apparently, so much so, she really was legit trying to get into the ring, I guess maybe to beat him and beat Undertaker for still doing the shit for real as a living and probably embarrassing her in her mind and shit too, that she was banned permanently from ringside or I guess any events ever for life. Probably right up her alley. That's what she wanted the whole time, because I don't think she really wanted to see him wrestle anyway, period. So she got that over. We fast forward to Kane, or AKA right now, one of America's least favorite mayors, if you're heavy into a woman having her choice with her body and her rights, because, well, Kane openly admitted on Twitter and tweeted out that, we're gonna, I think he's a mayor of some town in Tennessee, so he's like, basically, I co-sign a woman not having a choice, or fuck Roe versus Wade, basically. That's his strength right there. So a lot of women probably ain't fans of the big red dead machine. Big red machine, right? He was never dead. No, he was supposedly dead as the Undertaker's brother Kane, but he came back to life, or he only burned most of his face off. He was never really dead. He came back, ripped the cage off the fucking, ripped the door off the Hell in a Cell, and then, it's gotta be Kane, or whatever. So this is a commonly known fact, if you know Undertaker shit like that. Undertaker's original name was supposed to be Kane, but they said Undertaker makes more sense instead. So instead they saved the name Kane for Kane when he debuted. And I was surprised, actually. I didn't know that Kane was supposed to be a one-off character, meaning that one time we saw him debut at the Hell in a Cell match, ripping the door off the Hell in a Cell, trying to get access to Taker, trying to kill him because he had supposedly left him for dead way back when they were children, the storyline. He was supposed to be a one-off, like one-time only deal, blinking and miss it, and never again. But I guess Taker had some influence and said he liked the shit so much, or they probably liked what Glenn Jacobs, Kane, did with the character that night. They said, you know what? Let's keep it. We can probably do something with that. And wasn't he fake Undertaker? No. Oh, no. It was some other guy, I think that was fake Taker. And another thing, too, about Glenn Jacobs and or Kane, better yet known as. I was surprised that, that was his unofficial debut. Well, okay, that was Kane's debut, but that wasn't his first time in the WWF back then. Because if you remember, he was Isaac Yankem DDS, a.k.a. Jerry Lawler's evil, demented, heel dentist, which I guess we all feel at this age, the dentist is the heel, because, drilling in your teeth and pulling shit out, and now we're getting older, so, our teeth are really that much more brittle, and or if not anything else, just the co-pays and deductible, because oh boy, do I gotta pay so much, because allegedly I make too much money to have like an affordable, cheap health insurance plan. Even though I work for health insurance, I know about these things in detail. They says no, I gotta pay a monthly premium out of every fucking check, and on top of that, I still gotta pay when I go see the goddamn dentist of all things. So who's the real heel nowadays? Dentist. And besides, ain't dentist the fucking joke of the medical community anyway? What do they say? What do you call a doctor that failed, medical school? A dentist or something like that. Or they make fun of the podiatrists too as well, chiropractors, all that. But I think of them all, a chiropractor would be cool, and if if you stay on Instagram like that, you see the guys that get to like crack and bend and basically dry hump all these piece of ass models that go in to get their backs cracked and all that too, and make videos of it. At least you can put some respect on chiropractor's name. And maybe a foot doctor, well, at some point we all get shit on our feet that we got to get treated. But the dentist, who wants to see the fucking dentist? No, children don't want to, teens don't want to, adults, elderly don't want to. And what about this? Medicare, 65 and plus crowd. The elderly folks, they don't even get coverage for fucking dental like that too. They got to pay out their ass for fucking brand new teeth because their own natural born teeth are like wasted away or been yanked out or decayed. They got to get new teeth. Medicare won't even help them cover that shit too. I know too much about health insurance, so I know the fucking horrors of it too. But again, I don't know why they just glanced over entirely the fact that he was Isaac Yankem DDS. Maybe if there's a season 3 and Kane gets his own episode, they'll have to touch on, I would hope they dive deep into Isaac Yankem DDS. I hated the character. It was fucking stupid. I almost beat Bret Hart. I forgot if he did that one time at SummerSlam. I almost beat Bret Hart. It was that good. It was a stupid character, sure, and it was amongst a plethora of dumb characters they had at that time too, but I didn't hate it. It was kind of cool. He was evil. No one likes the dentist, so it was an easy bad guy for them to make, but whatever. It was also the time when they had a lot of guys wrestling as like a side job or at night besides their daily jobs. So, they had the dentist, they had the hockey player, the goon, I think. They had Duke the Dumpster Josie, who was like a garbage man by day, a wrestler by night. They had like the guy that was a knockoff of Cape Fear, Waylon Mercy, I think. Man Mountain Rock, who I liked a lot. He was just a big fat guy that played the guitar really well and could beat guys. Adam Bomb. I used to love Adam Bomb from 3 Mile Island, weighing 300 something pounds. Big, greasy, moppy haired guy who had the, Chernobyl radioactive goggles on and the onesie too. He'd power bomb you because, of course, he's from 3 Mile Island. He deals with bombs. He was cool. I mean, it was all stupid back then, but come on. You had to just buy into the fucking reality, alternate universe that is wrestling too at that time. But yeah, they fucking forgot about Isaac Yankem ever existing entirely. Here's something that kind of irked me a bit. Now, this isn't to blame Undertaker for it all. Like, I'm sure he wasn't with the shits. But there was a time, apparently, when Undertaker was so popular, as he's always been. But, Undertaker was like a main character a lot of times throughout his career, to the point where fans loved The Undertaker so much, apparently, that I never knew this. They were actually sending in, somehow, I guess to a P.O. box or where they find out where he lived, they take samples of their own blood, vials of their own blood, and mail it to The Undertaker. Or if they knew, I guess, where he was staying at a hotel or in the city, whatever, they'd hand it over to him in person. So if I'm The Undertaker, I'm creeped out. If I'm The Undertaker, if I'm handed a vial of blood by a random stranger, I think out of disgust or out of just, being shocked, I'm dropping the vial of blood. I'm not scooping it up. And I'm also going to ask them, point blank to the face, where did your mother go wrong with you? Who didn't hug you enough? Who didn't feed you until you were an adult almost, where you learned some sort of compassion? Or are you in love with me? Are you that big a creep that you love me of all things? You want to give me your blood and think it's going to create a bond between us or something? Or people just buying too much to the character. That might be it too, but that was just creepy. I mean, I get it if you want to get the guy tattooed on your body, if you want to do artwork, if you want to dedicate YouTube videos with mashups of your favorite fucking rock song of Taker and his match and footage. Okay, that's fandom. You want to do that? That's fantastic. But you got to draw the line, I think, at tattoos. Because anything beyond that, because you got to draw blood, because the needle hits your skin and makes it bleed when you get it tatted up. You're literally drawing blood for The Undertaker at that point. You don't need to take blood out of your body and send it to somebody you're a fan of and be like, this is me committing to you with my blood. Love me, kind of thing. No, stop that behavior. It is so sick. Next thing they point out, and next thing they highlight, and I think this is fair to do at least. Oh yeah, right, Mick Foley did get an episode last season. That was a good one too, I remember now. It was really in depth. But Undertaker, Mark Calaway, does somewhat owe a lot of his popularity, especially through the Attitude Era, to Mankind, aka Mick Foley, I believe. Obviously, I'm alluding to the Hell in a Cell match where he tossed the guy off the fucking top of the Hell in a Cell. He busted through the table, fell like, 30-something feet? It's crazy that even till now, I don't blame him. Even till now, though, you can visibly see in his face that it's hard for Undertaker, Mark Calaway, to talk about that match because of what happened. So apparently, Mick Foley had wanted to do the spot. Of all things, the worst thing possibly could have done was talked about what can I do to really sell the Hell in a Cell match with, of all people, Terry Funk. Shout out to Terry Funk. Awesome dude. But the worst possible guy to get advice from, because they're creatures of the same realm as far as they're both insane. They're all about taking the crazy ass bumps. So Mick Foley basically asking Terry Funk, what can I do? And Terry Funk says, you can jump off the goddamn thing and really sell, you stupid asshole. He is convinced he has to do that. He runs it by Undertaker. Taker says, no, we're not doing that. You could fucking die. Absolutely not. Apparently he convinced him enough to do so. Obviously the spot happened. It's infamous. It always gets looked at now. I think it even gets its anniversary celebrated of when Mick Foley flew off the top of the fucking cell. And of course, Jim Ross, well, by God, he's dead. He's broken in half, or whatever he fucking said. So they do it. He goes off the top of the cell flying onto the announce table. Thank God they broke his fall. And then on top of that, they go back to the top of the cell, and he falls through the cell as well too. But this is when the cell was first built, so I think this might have been the second Hell in a Cell, third one, whatever, when the roof was really flimsy. Like every step they took, because Undertaker 300 pounds, but lean and in shape. Mankind, Mick Foley, 300 something pounds, really sloppy, big fucking fat hips. 600 pounds with every step they take on the roof. You could hear the shit just like ping, 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 ping. The hinges of the fence roof like shooting off. To the point where one move, one little move, one big move, whatever, Mankind goes through the fucking shit again, practically near dead. Alright, but they still continue to fight. If you've watched the match, if you know what I'm talking about, Hell in a Cell, Undertaker, Mankind, I believe it was it in your house or something like that? I forget, but whatever. You can still see in his face, Taker is uncomfortable talking about that shit because of what happened, and him basically saying and summing it up by, had he missed the table, had he gone over a foot or two, he would have been dead. So, great that it's a part of history. Not so great that he could have literally died had he overshot the fucking throwing himself literally off the cage. Because if you look at it too, Taker barely has his hands on him. He's like, nah, he's not going to jump. We're going to fake it last second, whatever. And then Mick just goes ahead and takes a running start and throws himself off the fucking cell. I guess he timed it right. He knows how to land properly as a professional wrestler too, where he kind of knew already to call the table's going to be where I land, and got it right where it was pulled off wonderfully. I mean, not wonderfully in the sense of like how he suffered physically, I'm sure, through the match, but also the fact that probably inspired a whole generation of guys to do the same exact shit. But, that's besides the point. Okay. Speaking of injuries, speaking of doing harm to your body, at this point, the doc, Taker, takes it upon himself to share the fact that I didn't know. I'm not surprised either, though. He's got about 17 or 18 different surgeries up until now. He's done on his body. Just about every body part you can imagine that matters has been worked on and or repaired, including both hips. So it makes sense, unfortunately, now why he walks the way he walks. It's a little off. It's a little awkward. And then we get to the point now after the surgeries and after all the injuries he recounts, where he said earlier, as I mentioned, like he was so comfortable being the Undertaker, instead of being Mark Calaway, which he got so little time to be when he wasn't being the Undertaker. He was obviously comfortable being Undertaker, either just the character itself in the ring, or while the TV cameras are on, and or outside of it, still doing that while he's outside, just a toned down, approachable, friendly, no smiles, no fucking happiness, no giddiness, nothing. You're not going to see fucking Or at least back when. You weren't going to see The Undertaker, frolicking through a field of daisies and bending over and picking sunflowers out and putting it on his ear and twirling around and shit too. Like, rest in peace now, haha. Nah, he wasn't doing that shit. Which is commendable, which is interesting because I guess he loved this character that much, or it was such an easy sell for him, that why would you go back to who you were before that, if it matters now? I kind of look at it now like, let's say, might be an extreme example, but I'd say close enough, why not? Maybe like Kanye. Eventually Kanye became Yeezy, affectionately referred to as Yeezy, now legally Ye. So I doubt we'll ever get the Yeezy, the Kanye of old. We've only got Ye now, that's become the icon, the staple of music and culture and whatever else you want to deem him as. Well, I don't think we'll get the old Kanye back ever. I know, yes, he's even said it himself, I want the old Kanye, not the new Kanye. We're never getting that guy back, I think. I think he's fully committed to just being Ye now at this point, and we're only going to have to deal with this guy from this point forward. If he runs for president again, I guess people, for the sake of not voting for Biden, would probably vote for Yeezy, or Ye, excuse me, if Trump ain't unofficially running as they said he would in 2024. So, should be a really interesting year for 2024 presidential candidate-wise, and that's a good reason why I'm not fucking voting. Either way, by default. I never did and I never will, god damn it. I guess if anything, according to the government, I'm a heel. But, okay, I digress. So, because he was so comfortable being his character, and because he was on the road, as he said, like, 200-something plus, 300-something plus days a year, out of the 365 we get afforded in a year, he forms a crew called BSK, or Bone Street Krew. Guys that I don't know who in their right mind would ever fuck with, because they're all at least over 6'3", 6'4". I don't think anyone in that whole crew is under 300 pounds. Undertaker, Godfather, Yokozuna, Rikishi, one of the Godwins, I think Henry, Savio Vega, and Master Fuji, rest in peace. All Bone Street Krew gang, whatever clique. They walk into a bar, all them, or any place that has alcohol, as they said themselves, I think Rikishi said it, like, just make sure you got Jack Daniels on stock and you're good with us. I don't know who's giving them trouble. Because imagine a whole crew of guys, towering, giants compared to your fucking security, the best security you can afford, coming in and actually being peaceful. You're going to be suspicious, I guess, too, right? With guys that big coming in a group. But then surprisingly, they're just wrestlers. They got to be tough guys on camera, but they don't want no beef as long as you got the Jack on stock. I prefer Henny. If I had a crew, I'd be like Henny or die, whatever. Well, that's alcohol talk. We're not here to do that. He does admit at some point he feels like he failed his oldest children, which I didn't know he had old children like that. Older children, excuse me. By not being there, being able to supply, as far as, like, I'm sure Undertaker did very well financially for himself throughout the longevity of his career with Vince and such, but at the expense of not being there, which I do recall from the Roddy Piper episode from last season, and I'm sure Brett went through the same thing, all the dads that had to be away from their kids because they had to be their characters the whole time, felt that remorse of, like, I wish I could have been there instead for them, instead of being able to give them so much financially, materially. Where does the time go as far as, like, me missing out on all that shit? But he does regret that, but he is able to now relive what he missed out on with his younger kids now with Michelle McCool, so that's good too. And I'm sure, like, over time his older children realize he's the Undertaker. I mean, we can't take that away from the people, so can we really be mad at him if they were at all? I don't think so. I like to think they were never really mad at him like that. He said his best 4 matches ever, he felt like, were the 2 back-to-back he had with Shawn at WrestleMania, and then the 2 he had right back-to-back afterwards with, what's his name? I can't believe I forget this guy's name. Triple H. So the 4 best matches Taker ever had, according to him, from the horse's mouth himself, was Shawn Michaels, those 2 back-to-back Manias, and then the 2 back-to-back right after with Triple H. Makes sense, because the first one and the second one with Shawn, classic matches, no question there. As far as, I think those have got to be in everybody's top 5 matches of all time. And then personally, my favorites were the one with Triple H. But more specifically, I think the second one, I want to say that was WrestleMania 28. Yeah, the one they did Hell in a Cell. I love that match. I even watched that match back when they posted it up on YouTube on WWE's channel, where they took out the commentary and it was just a crowd noise. And even then still, you can appreciate them calling the spots, Sean being dramatic the whole time, a special guest referee too. I'd say chef's kiss of that one, that's probably my favorite Taker match of all time, easily. Undertaker Triple H 2 at WrestleMania 28 in the Hell in a Cell. And that makes sense. I'd say, yeah, out of the whole streak, everything too, out of his whole career, probably some of his final matches were with those two guys. They're close in real life, so that's good to see as well. Apparently, I wasn't too sure up until recently, and I know that's been highly debated up until now even. When it happened, obviously, till now, too, recent times. Taker was in on Brock actually breaking the streak, being the one to break the streak and ending it at 21-0. To the point where, Doc Hayes, Michael Hayes said himself in the doc, I didn't know until the day of that Mark wasn't going to go over Brock. I just thought he was going to win the whole time until Taker told him, nope, I'm losing this time. Apparently, Bruce Richard, who's no one's favorite creative producer at this point now in wrestling, allegedly, supposedly, maybe just to sell for the doc, said, I hated it back then, I hate it now, I can't watch that fucking match because of what happened, I told them not to do it, god damn it, I know what I'm talking about, but they went ahead and did it anyway, what the fuck do these guys know, I'm the expert, whatever. I don't really buy it. I almost want to say Bruce was probably in on it too, but he's just saving face for the fact of the doc and trying to be like the good guy. Oh, I didn't want Undertaker to lose. Of course not. I was there when he just started. Why would I ever want him to lose, especially break the streak? Something so iconic as a streak. But yeah, debatable with how Bruce feels. Apparently, also, a fun fact is Michelle McCool, his wife now, and mother of his children, played hard to get with the Deadman. So talk about blue balling, I guess dead on the inside and probably dead even more on the inside when he started to realize that, damn, this bitch playing hard to get. But apparently, the thing that really won him over, as far as Michelle McCool is concerned, a lovely looking woman always, even till now, still holding up fantastically, so chef's kiss her as well. He was throwing the football around in the ring with some of the guys. The ball happens to find its way over to her at her feet. She's able to pick the football back up, toss it perfectly and beautifully back his way. He catches it and he says, I'm in love with this girl. It's official. We're committed. We're going to get married. So of all things, all it took was Undertaker's balls to really seal the deal between him and Michelle McCool. His football, of course, I'm referring to. And we finally get to the ending part where basically Taker says himself, I wasn't going to retire for shit unless Vince McMahon, my daddy in the business and in real life practically almost close enough, was going to be the one to give me the induction speech into the Hall of Fame, which he finally convinced him to do so after so long. It took till 2022 to do it in front of a live crowd. He deserves it. It's the Undertaker, of course. So thank God it wasn't in the middle of that awkward phase when they did it with the pandemic and everybody socially distanced and whatnot. He got a crowd for it. And he got Vince McMahon to do it for him too, which made the most sense because people were like, oh, it should be Kane, it should be Mankind, it should be whoever else. I think some people were saying what's his face? Godfather. Papa Shango should be the one to do it too. No, come on. Some of his greatest opponents, but also who gave the green light for Undertaker to exist in the first place? Vince McMahon, and he said himself, Vince is like my father, basically. So it'd be interesting, actually, at this point now with the whole Vince McMahon scandal going on, to get Undertaker's take on Vince and his alleged illicit activities outside or inside WWE headquarters with the, 13 million they said, 14 something like that almost, that he paid women off for. It almost sounds like he even knew having sex with him, allegedly, was such a pain that he had to pay him that much to shut him up. And also for them to live with the embarrassment of having his old cock inside them. Allegedly, of course. This is all alleged right now. I mean, There have been people that came out and accused him of whatever, but I don't know, honestly, if it goes beyond a legend. So let's see what happens there. It's further developing. Basically, he's retired. Triple H is in charge now, creative as well. So that might mean I actually might start watch wrestling on a regular basis too. Who knows? The whole time, Undertaker's mom is really opposed to him being a wrestler, period. Even when he's active, till recent, until he finally retired. Like, she's just glad it's all over with, basically. That's what she's been telling him. And now that he's finally done, as he's confirmed with being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I forgot what he did or when he did it, he like laid his like robe, coat, and hat down and made it official. We won't see him again in the ring, hopefully. We don't need to see him again in the ring. He's done more than enough throughout this whole time. It's been too long as is already. He's done too much to his body. He said himself, surprisingly, only 18 surgeries total in his whole career is what he suffered from. So, I don't know, but he did say never at the end of his speech. So, God forbid he does try to come back or does want to come back. Hopefully, Taker, please, stop coming back. We don't need you no more. It's bad enough with Goldberg, always on the fucking veer of, or like peeking through the fucking curtains in Gorilla, being like, Ray, like, is it my cue to like bang my head into the locker already, please? Can I come out already, please? I got my entrance ready, my pie already, please? That's scary enough to have to deal with. Taker, you've done enough. You had a great last match at the Boneyard with AJ. Shout out to AJ Styles and the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows. You did fine enough there. You rode off on your high horse. No more coming back, please. You got that fine-ass wife of yours, Michelle McCool, to keep happy. Your children to be happy with. I'm sure a ton of money to sit on, too, as well. You done enough. You did good. That's it. And you know what? It was a lot of fucking shit I had no idea about Undertaker in the first place. I had no clue. I had no idea Taker had been through so much early on in his career. As a young, mean Mark Calaway in WCW, or what was it? What do you call himself? What did they call him again? Texas Red, Master of Pain, all these dumbass names he went through early on, just to make it to be Undertaker now. I had no idea he went through so much throughout his career. Well, as long as it's been, he did spend a good amount of time before he became Taker, and has been Taker ever since. He spent a lot of time paying his dues and, like he said, sleeping in the back of his car and, trying to see how and when he'd be able to eat to stay alive, because he was literally a grown boy, no pun intended, the whole time as a young man. So how was he going to feed his whole physical frame properly? By being poor as shit. Or taking bumps and doing all these matches and getting paid close to nothing, and or people telling him to his face, his overgrown ass face, you can't make no money. No one's going to pay to see your big fucking lanky ass. Get out of here already. Or just take the contract we throw at you as a favor. But, yeah, you know what? I really love that they started off strong. Season 2, Episode 1 with Undertaker. Sorry, The Undertaker. For the A&E Biography, WWE Legends docu-series. It's a really strong start. I wanted to do more. As far as the following episodes, there was Goldberg right after. There was the Bella Twins right after that last week. I refuse to do those. If you want to see a good Goldberg documentary and or whatever, something really focusing on the retrospective of Goldberg, there's a really good doc. Is it what, on a network still or no, Peacock? If you look it up on Peacock, I think it's called 127 and 0. That's the full best retrospective on Goldberg as far as his inflated streak, the build-up to it, the ending of it too. That's a lot better than the episode we got for episode 2, season 2 in this one. It's not bad, don't get me wrong. We do learn a little bit about Goldberg, but it felt like a fluff piece a little bit. Like, he didn't want to sell himself short, especially with the Bret Hart thing. He'll never forgive me. I know that already, so I'm not even going to bother to. Basically, it's the vibes I got, which I understand. Wrestling hates him, period, because what he did to Bret Hart, and also what he almost did to Taker. Funny enough, by almost killing him in the ring in Abu Dhabi, or the Blood Money pay-per-views they do over there. And also the Bella Twins one. I never gave a shit enough about the Bella Twins, let alone to justify them having an episode in this season dedicated to themselves. So literally an hour and a half of shit I don't give a fuck about learning from the Bella Twins. Besides them looking great, as they always have, besides Nikki taking an already good physical frame of hers and her twin sister, Brie, and slapping some big old perfect titties on her to really seal the deal. Outside of that, I really don't give a shit about the Bella Twins. I never did. I like to look at them, do the little flippy thing, the little booty shake on the way down to the ring. That's where I draw the line. It wasn't a bad watch, and it's unfortunate what happened to Nikki Bella growing up at a young age, before she even became of age, apparently. But did they unofficially start the women's revolution? I think they might have. I think they might have actually did it. You know, give or take with them leaving the company. I didn't know that. I didn't know they actually left at one point and had to get signed back on to do. And that's the only reason we got fucking Total Divas and then unfortunately Total Bellas. Both those terrible fucking shows. The most I'll say about the Bella Twins is they are literally both the Kardashians of wrestling, because both their shows, the Total Divas and then Total Bellas, added nothing of value to them to speak highly of themselves or to wrestling to make it look any better. And I'm not going to say I hate the fact that a lot of women may have trickled over to wrestling because of Total Bellas or Total Divas, but it's hard to ignore. Total Bellas was fucking stupid the whole time it's been on. They did pick some of the better ones that had like liveliness, that were like fun to watch and shit too. But I do remember clearly, one, they got rid of Naomi because she was boring. And it's, I don't know how it's possible to be boring on Total Bellas of all things, where literally it's all about, bitch, did you hear? Oh my God, bitch, really? OMG, bitch, I can't believe Vince said that about you. Or OMG, bitch, I can't believe we didn't sell out this city like we did. I showed my titties, I bent over and everything too. It's the easiest fucking shtick. All you gotta do is get undressed in the camera a couple of times every episode, and I think you'll be a mainstay on the fucking roster crew lineup of Total Divas. But Naomi couldn't do that because she didn't want to show no skin. And then one episode was focused on her ass, I remember, trying to get her part right for like a B movie or some like a series no one fucking watches. She got like a 2-line part and she couldn't get the shit right. She was too boring. She was ready to cry and just leave because I can't get my role right or whatever. Which hints at the fact that the whole Sasha Naomi thing too going on. Sasha should be fine now if Triple H really is in charge of everything, and as far as coming back to the company is concerned. I think Naomi's like take it or leave it with them. They might just bring it back because she's married to an Uso and the whatever fucking bloodline matters like that. But otherwise, if Vince was still there and none of this was going on with Triple H and whatnot, I think Sasha's long gone, AEW, Japan, wherever she feels like going, and Naomi's maybe ending up on like, what, Impact or something like that, if she's lucky, or just going back to dancing or something like that. I'm not trying to hate, I'm not saying that at all either, but, you know, the Bellas contributed those two terrible shows, even worse when they got their own fucking solely Total Bella focused thing, and poisoned our lives with that. I'm guilty of watching both. No, better yet said, I'm guilty of trying to watch Total Bellas. I could not do it. It's a terrible show. It's always been terrible. They're so fucking fake. It's insulting to my intelligence. At least Total Bellas, you got a slew of. If you don't like the Bellas, you can't stand them. At least there was like Natalia, there was Carmella at one point. Who else? Liv towards the end. Paige was there for a while too. I like Paige. Paige should have gotten her episode on this doc-series before the Bellas. The Bellas made no sense. It should have been Paige. It could have been like early women's wrestling from like Alundra Blaze, Bull Nakano days in the WWF, whatever. Miss Elizabeth could have gotten one, I think. Even though, I mean, listen, she didn't have much going on either, Miss Elizabeth. But I think she could have gotten her episode too, way before the Bellas. But we digress. Alright, so she's got to blow a bubble with a fucking gum, pop it to get his attention. He turns around because, of course, he's busy pissing in the corner minding his business otherwise when he's not being a criminal. and tells him to get his hands up. Of course, gets no time to zip his pants up, tuck his fucking BBC back in his pants. He turns around, he's like, can I put this thing away at least? She gets tempted like a woman would enough. Locking eyes with him, making direct eye contact, like this, to look down enough to fucking look the BBC, the big black cock, up and down because she's fucking entranced by it. She's fascinated. She's like Mowgli in the Jungle Book when the fucking snake comes out of nowhere, starts hypnotizing him slowly. She's envisioning all that in her fucking head. And that split second, when she's too fucking obsessed with looking the big black cock up and down, because it's never ending almost, that humongous fucking cock of his, he fucking backhands her, takes her down, overpowers her. The Undertaker. The Deadman gets 2 very alive ears out of 2 from me. It's a great, strong start to this second season of a very well put together overall doc-series. I enjoy it. I love it. This has been Who This Been Watching. Episode 54, live review, here on Instagram, instagram.com/whothisis1 or at whothisis1 to catch the live version Saturdays. If not, you're probably watching right now the YouTube version, youtube.com/whothisis1.